Hello everyone, today's topic is about cryptocurrencies, and this is really a very high level view or very marathon view of how cryptocurrency works, and let's get started with that. This is the flow of how we are going to go. Let's understand what the currency is, how the gold standard came into picture, how fiat currency started, then the crypto and the details of crypto, miner, transaction block, blockchain, hash function, proof of work, Bitcoin money supply, and future, including the Dogecoin details as well. This is really a very high level view and probably doesn't cover a lot of details of the crypto, but this will give you a basic understanding of how crypto works and what the future of crypto is really. So let's understand what the currency is. So back in history, when people were trying to transact, so let's say you had Alice and Bob who really wanted to transact. So that's Bob, and Alice had she had apples, and Bob had some other fruit, and they just wanted each other's fruit, so they exchanged those fruits, and that's how the transaction took place. And there was another person called as Charles who also wanted, he had some different fruit, and what he really wanted was to get apples. And now to figure out this transaction, Alice, Bob and Charles really had to find out a way to exchange these fruits or the products they had to figure out how they are going to arrive at the product they want. And this was really getting cumbersome to find out a person who really needs that product and to find out a person who really wants your product. So this was becoming cumbersome, and that's why we needed something called as a medium of exchange. And medium of exchange is something which should be limited, precious, and that was why the gold standard was invented, where Alice had some gold coins, Bob had some gold coins, Charles had some gold coins, and they just gave those gold coins to each other to probably get those apples or any other product they wanted to have from the other person. And that's how the gold standard evolved. Now let's look at fiat currency. As we progressed into gold standard, there was limitation of gold standard, which we understood, which was that the growth was limited to supply of gold. And if we wanted to grow faster, we had to mine more gold, or we just have to grow slowly. And that's why there are multiple reasons, of course, why the gold standard was scrapped in 1970s. But basically, that's why you probably saw today what we have is a fiat currency standard. And fiat currency literally means that you have faith in the currency that is printed. So whether it is dollar, euro, yen, anything, any currency, you just have faith in that currency. And in today's terms, any central banker or any government literally can print any amount of currency they want to print it. Basic question is, why don't they just print everything in the world so that everybody has money, they can enjoy their life and just stop working? That's the problem. If everybody stops working, there is no production. That means the currency that you're going to print is going to increase the inflation, but that's different topic which we can cover at the later part. So definitely fiat currency is the one which has come into existence and which is now the fact of today's economics or finance, whereby you're trading into the cryptocurrencies and where the central bankers can just print any amount of currency they want, but of course they're restricted so that the inflation is not a runaway inflation. Now let's move to the cryptocurrency, where you don't have a central banker now. You have decentralized currency. So today's banking system, where when you transact, a bank would record your transaction. In crypto world, there is no such thing as recording of transaction, because all the transactions are recorded decentralized at a decentralized level. These are digitally encrypted there is less possibility of fraud, and that's why you are today seeing a cryptocurrency which is either Bitcoin or a Dogecoin or a Ether which is coming to existence. Now let's go into details of how this cryptocurrency really works and what exactly it is. We understood how gold works. We mine gold and limited gold. So based on the gold prices, you had prices of products which were there. Now let's look at how crypto works. A typical crypto transaction would look like this. So you have Alice, and Alice has, let's say, 50 bitcoins. Alice also has something called as a public verification key, and just pardon my writing, and a private verification key. Same is the case with Bob. Bob has same public verification key and a private verification key. What it means is, when you're doing a crypto transaction, and let's say in this transaction Alice is trying to send 25 bitcoins to Bob, and how this transaction will be recorded, it's going to be let's say this public verification key is VKA and this is VKB, and let's say this private verification key is going to be SKA and SKB. And little this transaction, what it says is that VKB is going to get 25 bitcoins, VKA is going to get back 24 bitcoins, and it is going to be signed by SKA. That means Alice is going to sign it with her private verification key. This is literally how a transaction block means. And you can see that there are 25 bitcoins and 24, but we originally had 50, and that extra 1 bitcoin is nothing but the fees that miner is going to gain out of this transaction, and that will come at a later stage. But this is how a typical crypto transaction looks like when you do a transaction, and there are multiple transactions happening at every point of time, and there will be hundreds of these transactions which are taking place in a big Bitcoin ecosystem, and these transactions need to be verified. What it means is that who knows that Alice really has 50 bitcoins? We don't know how Alice got 50 bitcoins. There will be a list of transactions which will tell probably there was Charles or David who were there, who gave her these bitcoins, and that's how she got those 50 bitcoins. So there should be verification of this transaction, that whether Alice actually had 50 bitcoins, whether she's not double spending those bitcoins, and that is something that is done by all the Bitcoin miners. So these are the people who are transacting, and then there are these nodes which are Bitcoin miners who are getting all these transactions thrown at them for verification. And next point is miner transaction block and blockchain. So as we saw in the last slide, is that there are these transactions which are called as the unincorporated transactions, and what a miner does is that he puts these transactions together, it collates those transactions within a transaction block. This is called as transaction block, and now they need to solve this transaction block, and this transaction block essentially is all digital numbers which are stored in this transaction block, which actually carry the information about the transactions, multiple transactions which have taken place. So this creates a transaction block, and now the miners try to find out and solve this transaction block. And what it means by solve is that will come in the next slide, but let's say that the miner tries to solve this transaction block, and he gets a reward and a transaction fee for this block. And once this block is solved, it gets added to the blockchain. So every time there are these unincorporated transactions, they are formed in a pool of transactions. those are solved, those are added to a transaction block, and the next unincorporated transaction comes, that comes into in the block, and that's how this blockchain is formed. And that is why you hear that there's a blockchain. Blockchain literally means that you can trace all the transactions in your history of Bitcoin from t equal to 0, and that's why it's a blockchain of all the transactions. And whenever there are many more transactions, you'll see blocks added to these transactions, and every block added means there is a fee and new bitcoins created in the ecosystem of the Bitcoin network. Now let's move on to something called as and typically I'll probably digress on what we're doing. When you install any of these Bitcoin mining softwares or Bitcoin softwares, you'll see probably a day or two you will download all these transactions which have happened in the history, and that's how the blockchain is created. Now let's understand what a miner is, what hash function is, and what proof of work is. Now if you remember, in fiat currency we said that if we try to print a currency, it's going to be of no value because there is no work done for printing that currency. And same is the construct or nature of any of these crypto currencies. So what happens is, now you have this transaction blockchain which we explained earlier, and this is called as a challenge string, and you'll have something called as a hash function, hash function. And these hash functions, you can search SHA-256, MD5, MD4. These are typically hash functions which would take inputs and they will throw output. This is kind of a mixer. In a layman's term, this is a mixer who takes that string, does some mathematical function, and this function throws out a output. Now a miner is the guy who is going to put a proof string here. And what the proof string is, when you take the challenge string, which is all the transactions which are in that block, and you use the proof string generated by the miner and you hash it, the outcome should be many zeros. So leading number of zeros is what the outcome should be, and this is defined by the Bitcoin network as to what should be the outcome, how many leading zeros it should have. So you can imagine if this string is, let's say, 40 bits, that means you literally have to generate 2 raised to 40, which is trillions of these combinations which the miner has to generate in order to figure out what input makes this transaction block give a lot number of zeros to give a proof of work. And once a miner finds out that this is the number that he has found out which generates zeros, he's going to send this to all the networks saying that he has found out the proof of work, and now he should get reward as a transaction fee or as a Bitcoin. And that is mainly how all these networks work. This is very layman's language how Bitcoin works, and I hope you like what is being told in this. If you need any of the details, definitely we can make more videos like this. Now let's look at where we stand in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoins and Dogecoin. Now Bitcoin has a limit of 21 million, that is 21 million Bitcoins will be printed or mined, what you can say. Dogecoin has a limit of 100 billion, but they are going to add 5 billion every year. So this is going to be a inflationary Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is going to be a stable supply, but there are so many people losing their passwords to the Bitcoin wallet, so this probably is going to be a deflationary cryptocurrency. When you look at Bitcoin, one block, if you solve one block, it gives you 6.25 Bitcoins. So miner gets a good reward for solving a Bitcoin For Dogecoin, one block is 10,000 Dogecoins. Bitcoin takes 10 minutes to solve a block. That means once you give that challenge string, all the transactions, time taken by a miner to provide a solution which you put into cryptographic function to get the zeros is 10 minutes. For Dogecoin, it is 1 minute. Now, all these networks actually adjust the time required to solve a particular challenge string. So if the time required is more, they will reduce the number of leading zeros, so you need to give a lower number of iterations to solve this problem. If the time required is less, then they will increase the complexity. And that is why you hear that there are a lot of all these Bitcoin miners who are consuming a lot of energy, because they are doing trillions of transactions or trillions of iterations to find out a proof of work to get that Bitcoin as output. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any queries, you can write it into the comment box. You can subscribe to the channel if you like, and you can comment on any things that you need to add into this. Thank you.